All right, the Pittsburgh Steelers lose to the Miami Dolphins 16-10, a frustrating game on the road in Miami. Let's talk today about what's going on offensively and why it just seemed like it's the same offense in a different game. All right, welcome to Steeler Country. I am Tony Serino. Today on the show, we're recapping the Steelers' 16-10 loss to the Miami Dolphins, a Sunday night football game, primetime game, but another frustrating one. Another frustrating one because offensively, it just feels like this team is kind of running in mud right now, doesn't it? You know, they've kind of spun their wheels all season. You know, we're going to fix this. We're going to, we're going to change quarterbacks. It's going to be different now. It's, we're going to work this guy into the offense a little more. Pickens, maybe Calvin Austin get involved. It just feels like at the end of the day, boy, oh boy, this is just, where does the light at the end of the tunnel for us Steeler fans, especially when it comes to an offense that it just feels like it's the same thing against a different opponent week in and week out. But we'll have a lot to talk about today. I know it's not going to be a fun show. This is not going to be a kumbaya, moment of, don't worry, guys, there's great things ahead. I don't know that there are great things ahead for the Steeler team. I think we knew that. But here's the okay. Before we get into that, didn't you kind of realize that as a fan watching the 1 o'clock games? The Steelers play at 8 o'clock at night, so we had all day as fans to watch the other games. The bar I was at, I was trying to watch the Browns and the Ravens play because obviously that matters the most for the Steelers in the division. And, I do that other show, AFC North Talk, where I got to talk about these teams. So that was the one I wanted to keep my eyes on. And that was a fun game, by the way, because it felt like the Browns were going to run away with that one. And then the Browns offense decided to hibernate for about 2 quarters. But hey, it was, little penalties. Anyway, but the game we all had to focus on at 1 o'clock. What's going on in Tampa? Why is Tampa getting run off the field right now by the Carolina Panthers? It was fun beating Tom Brady a week ago as Steeler fans. But when you started to realize, wait, this team can't even beat Carolina, that's not good for the Steelers. That's not good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I got to tell you, going into that 8 o'clock game, after watching Carolina beat Tampa as badly as they did, 21-3. I mean, Tampa didn't even score a touchdown in that game. I really did worry that the Steelers were going to get just annihilated on Sunday night. So credit to the Steelers for actually keeping that one close. Really credit to that defense for keeping it close. Because I thought the adjustments that they made really after that first drive and really into the second half where they shut him out in the second half. This was another one of those week 1 style performances defensively where it's a monumental performance because, once again, offensively in Pittsburgh, how much help is this offense giving this defense? We talk all the time about complementary football. You could look at what Cincinnati did against Atlanta this week, right? Atlanta's a team that wants to come out there. They're going to ground and pound, right? They're going to ball control. We're going to keep the rock and we're going to score. And it's going to be kind of a ball possession type thing. No, Cincinnati said, yeah, good luck with that. We're up 28-0 before you can blink. I mean, first 4 possessions in that game is touchdown for Cincinnati, to the point where Atlanta's game plan of you want to run the ball, cool, great, go for it. That right now in modern football, that's how you end up with, great defenses. A lot of it's complementary. It's no wonder that Buffalo has one of the best defenses in the league when offensively they have so much firepower. Other teams are thinking, we got to go out, we got to score early. I mean, we got to kind of go guns a-blazing early in this game to get ahead. And of course, that allows you defensively to be aggressive yourself. And Buffalo, obviously Buffalo has one of those better defenses. But anyway, getting back to this Steeler game, there is no complimentary football in Pittsburgh. This defense, when this defense is playing well, they pretty much have to do it solo. This is not going to be an offense in Pittsburgh that's going to hold the ball for the majority of the game. They did in Buffalo because Buffalo scored about 1 or 2 plays. But other than that, when this defense plays well, they have to do it themselves. And that's what I want to start with today. I want to start with that defensive performance and some of the comments that Mike Tomlin made during his press conference today. I'm recording this on Tuesday evening. Tomlin said this in the post-game press conference, and then he kind of doubled down on it today as he talked about the outcome of the game and what really affected the outcome of the game. And he keeps going back to this line about, Well, the Dolphins got turnovers and we didn't, right? We didn't catch the interceptions and they did. And that really determined the outcome of the game. And that comment has really bothered me because while it's it's one of these classic Tomlin lines, it's not wrong. He's not wrong in saying that. If the defense had caught a couple of those interceptions, potentially given the offense a couple short fields, could the Steelers have come away with victory? Sure. I mean, yes, the Steelers could have won this game in that case. And certainly if the Dolphins didn't catch one of those interceptions at the end, could the Steelers have come away with victory? Sure. Yes. But I think it ignores a bigger problem here, which is that, look, if you laser focus and you just kind of ignore everything else, you go, well, the interceptions were the real issue. I mean, okay, fine. But like once you take those goggles off, you go, oh, wait, hold on. This is an offense that is like incapable of getting to 20 points. All right, we've known this since week one. Since week one, we've had this big kind of warning sign flashing in our faces as fans. Uh-oh, this offense is bad. They got 5 turnovers in week one. And they could only put up 23 points in overtime on the last play of overtime. Not only did they not blow out a team after being the beneficiaries of 5 takeaways from their defense, not only did they not blow them out, they nearly lost the football game. It took miracle after miracle in that game to not lose when you got 5 takeaways. We've known this since week one about this offense. And so today, if we sit here and we could say, well, they should have had, the defense today should have had 2 or 3 interceptions, and that should have been the difference. Sure, they could have won this game, and they will be 3-5. But does that make you feel any better about where this team is right now and how good this team is in kind of a national landscape of or even in the AFC North? All right, let's say this team won this game 17-16 because they got one of those 4 interceptions they should have gotten. Does that make this team better overall? Does that make you feel better about their chances when they go up against teams like Baltimore or Cincinnati, right? Teams are going to decide this division. Does it make you feel like if they had gotten 1 or 2 of those interceptions that gets them closer to being an AFC North champion or being a playoff team this year? No, because offensively, unless they get 2, 3, 4 turnovers a game, this team ain't sniffing 20 points. And look, at the end of the day, like I'm as excited about Kenny Pickett being the quarterback of this football team as anybody. But let's be real here. He's not making a whole lot of a difference from what we've seen from Mitch, right? At the end of the day, this offense has the exact same problems, whether it was Mitch Trubisky at quarterback or it was Kenny Pickett at quarterback. And I like Kenny, and I thought Kenny would be better for this offense. And realistically, he has been, because I do think Kenny's been more efficient with the ball, and his completion percentage shows that. But still, if I'm trying to grade Kenny Pickett today, my criticism of Kenny Pickett today would be the exact same criticisms I had of Mitch Trubisky 3 weeks ago. He's not aggressive enough. The only time Kenny Pickett is aggressive is in these kind of late game situations, right? The 4th and 10 throw over the middle of the Frymouth, the one everyone wants to post on Twitter and say, look, this is why we can believe in Kenny Pickett. This is why you have to think Kenny. But it's a great throw. Don't get me wrong. That throw to Frymouth over the middle, the post route where he puts it right on the money. Frymouth gets inside leverage. Great throw. But why does it take until the 4th quarter on 4th and 10 for this offense to be capable of making a throw that aggressive? Because the rest of the game was what? It was either we're going to throw a deep shot in one-on-one, or we're going to just go check down. I mean, it's just where everyone's comfortable with just check down. Check it down. And when in doubt, check it down. It's like the height of insanity to watch this offense. Because look, it's not lost on me that, yeah, I mean, I could criticize Kenny today and say, oh, Kenny's too passive. Kenny needs to put more, take more shots, go over the middle more, right? But it's like the same thing we said about Mitch. And to prove that point, I talked about this on AFC North Talk yesterday, but I'll say it here as well. All right, these are some stats I compiled. I'll make it a little bigger here so everybody can see it. These are some stats I compiled. 3 quarterbacks, player A, player B, and player C. You can see these numbers are remarkably similar. 87 of 127 for 68% completion percentage, 771 yards, which is essentially 6.1 yards per attempt. And on an EPA per play basis, which EPA per play is essentially measuring your play-by-play efficiency, 0 being completely average. So if you have a negative EPA per play, that means you are a below average player at the position. And the player A's efficiency is negative 0.048 EPA per play. So slightly below average at quarterback. Player B, 60% completion percentage, so certainly lower there, but a little more yards. So it gives you a very similar yards per attempt at 6.2 and the exact same EPA per play, negative 0.048 EPA per play. And then you have player C, once again, remarkably similar, 63% completion percentage, 801 yards for a 6.1 yard per attempt, and a slightly better, although not good, negative 0.040 EPA per play. Now, these three players are, player A is the first 3 games of Kenny Pickett. Player B is the 4 games this year we've seen of Mitch Trubisky. And player C is the first 4 games of 2021 Ben Roethlisberger, last year's Ben, the first 4 games he played in Matt Canada's offense. How are we to sit here today and judge Kenny Pickett and say, is Kenny good for this offense? Is he bad for this offense? Is he getting better? Can I judge him as a player as far as his aggressiveness as a player? When this offense has put up remarkably similar numbers, regardless of who's at quarterback. Last year, what did we say about Ben last year? What was the one thing we all said about Ben last year? Well, look, a little washed. He doesn't want to challenge. All he wants to do is throw down the sidelines when it's a deep shot. Otherwise, everything is very safe. It's underneath. We're not using the middle of the field, right? But that's just Ben being washed. That's what Ben wants to do. He's late. He's old, right? He just wants to run his stuff. So, okay, we'll live with it because at the end of the day, Ben was very clutch. So even all the criticism you would have said of Ben Roethlisberger last year, at least the guy was clutch at the end of games. We'll live with it. They won 9 games last year. Cool. Right? Ben got his send-off. But then this year, at the beginning of the year, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe that they're running the same stuff with Mitch Trubisky because Mitch is so scared to throw anything other than deep shots down the sideline, and he's not using the middle of the field, and everything's a check down, right? That's what we said about Mitch Trubisky. And now, today, of Kenny Pickett, what are my big criticisms of Kenny for the last 3 weeks? Well, everything's a little check down. He's not using the middle of the field very often, and everything he wants to do is down the sidelines if it's aggressive. I mean, again, am I going to sit here today and say that we have a quarterback problem in Pittsburgh? I don't know. It is a real problem for the Steelers right now because, unpopular opinion here. Look, the Steelers are going to probably end up they're going to have a high draft pick. And so it is going to be really important for this team to figure out what they have in Kenny Pickett because they're going to have the really rare opportunity to potentially upgrade at quarterback if they need to. I mean, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and even I'll throw Will Levis in there. You're talking about a really good quarterback class coming in, especially in my eyes, Bryce Young. So there's the opportunity, and I know it's not going to be popular because everybody loves Kenny. And I want Kenny to be great. Don't get me wrong here, right? I'm not trying to sit here today and say, get rid of Kenny Pickett. But when you're given an opportunity like this, it's like, hey, we may end up in a situation where we drafted Josh Rosen, but now we have the number 1 overall pick in the Kyler Murray draft. Sometimes you get, it's uh-oh. But in order to make that assessment, you have to figure out who Kenny Pickett is and whether or not you believe in Kenny Pickett in the long run. And the problem for me right now, I'd love to see Kenny make more challenging shots down the field, right? Can Kenny Pickett see the full picture and start to put some to make some more aggressive passes down the field? More of those plays like we saw to Freiermuth over the middle of the field. I would love to see that stuff. But that's just not how this offense is built right now. And we can talk about Matt Canada, and I see a lot of you in chat, and we'll get to your questions here in chat. We can talk about Matt Canada, and like it's a Matt Canada problem. But at the end of the day, weren't we saying the same things about Randy Fichtner at the end? It wasn't the big criticism of Fichtner at the end. That offense was, was all just catch and run stuff. We're not aggressive. Yada. I mean, it's just, weren't we saying the exact same things about Fichtner at the end? I mean, is it like just the height of insanity of us as fans when we're trying to address this offense? Because it's been the same problem now for 3 quarterbacks and 2 offensive coordinators. And it's always, we're just kind of spinning our wheels here. This is why it's, for me as a fan, it's like it's impossible for me to sit here and like let's grade Kenny Pickett. Let's grade, the offense, because at the end of the day, like I can sit here and say like Canada's a bad offensive coordinator, and I think Canada has been pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, I think Canada runs. Look, the problem for Canada is like just from a conceptual standpoint, from a diversity of route combinations. I mean, it is like we're talking about like high school stuff out there. But even still, wasn't like the stuff that Fichtner was running was all that much better. All right, let's get to some of your comments here. Mr. Hammers says they need to let Canada go, promote Shully as interim to develop Kenny. I mean, I think that Mike Sullivan will eventually be offensive coordinator, because I imagine if Matt Canada gets let go, and I mean this in the offseason, that probably Mike Sullivan is the next man up. I do hope, though, that they go outside the organization. I don't think Canada gets fired mid-season. I just don't see what's the point of firing Canada mid-season. Like, is the problem for the Steelers right now play design or play calling? Because I would argue it's more play design than play calling. I still think this team does a very poor job of scheming guys open and has an over-reliance on guys winning in one-on-one. There's a reason why this team has the lowest yak in the league. Kenny Pickett had there was 30 yards of yak in this game in its entirety. But I believe the Steelers right now are the lowest in the league when it comes to yak entirely. I mean, this is an offense that is just not scheming guys to be in catch and run situations. It's just not what they do. They don't scheme guys open. It's just, can you win in your one-on-one? If you can, cool. If you can't, well, we got problems. And all the check down stuff is, again, you're limiting your run after catch there. If you're checking it down, defense is coming to you. Tanner says, what changes would you make to the team before the Eagles game and during the bye? I don't know if there are more changes to make at this point. I don't know that there are more changes to make. I mean, you fire Matt Canada, you put Mike Sullivan in. Again, you're not going to schematically, you're not going to change everything within a bye week. I mean, unless you feel like it's Canada's play calling, right? That there could be that the playbook could be more diverse, but that Canada kind of, if you imagine, like, his playbook is just very thin by choice, but it could be, that there are more things that they could conceptually run. Then potentially you can go with Sullivan in that way, right? From a play calling perspective. And I guess there's an argument to be made there. I was just thinking about it because, one of the most maddening plays in that game, I think it was second and 7. It might have been second and 10. And they ran the flip play on second and 7. I mean, it's one of the biggest problems I have with this team. I'd love to pull this stat up, and maybe I'll actually write the script that pulls these stats up, because I don't know if you can find them. I would love to know how often the Steelers get a first down, how often they convert a first down on first or second down. Because it just feels like, to me, this offense is built to get 3 and 4 yards at a time. It's like our desire is to be in 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 1, right? And then in those spots, once they get into that 3rd and short, okay, now we're going to take a shot. Now we're going to take a shot. All right, 3rd and 3, now we take a shot. How often is this team trying to get chunks? It just feels like this team is so often more than welcome, or more than willing to just settle for, let's get 2 or 3 yards here, and we'll make this 3rd and 5. And you're making it hard on yourself when Tom always talks about these money downs. You got to win the money downs. No, the easiest thing on money downs is to not get in them in the first place. Don't get in a money down situation. If you can get 10 yards on second down, that's pretty good. Then you don't have to convert on 3rd and 1. You don't have to convert on 3rd and 3. It just feels like this offense is it's built to just, we're just gonna little small chunks. The old small chunks offense. Great one here says the entire premise of this season is Kenny's improvement. There's no way we're in the playoffs. I mean, I would agree with that, but are we sure we're going to be able to diagnose Kenny improvement? Is Kenny better than Mitch right now? Has Kenny been okay, let's just do that. Has Kenny, in anyone's mind, been an improvement than from what Mitch Trubisky did in the first 4 weeks of the year? Have you seen improvement there, right? Have we at least started with a baseline of Kenny Pickett is better than Mitch? And or do you think Kenny in the 3 games we've seen him has gotten any better or worse in that time? I'd love to know your thoughts, because my thought is he is not any better than Mitch, and he has not gotten better or worse. He's just, flatline. I mean, to talk about the interceptions for a second, because people are going to get on him for the 7 interceptions. I mean, you guys know my thoughts on that. Anyone's been watching me for a while. Like the seven interceptions kind of make me happy. What are the interceptions? He tried to throw a deep ball to Chase Claypool. Again, he's got to learn that Chase Claypool is not a 50-50 guy. That's Pickens. So he got an interception on that one. Don't hate that throw at all. What was the other interception he threw? The one against Buffalo was bad. The other one against the Jets was bad. The other one was a Hail Mary. Who cares? Doesn't count. And then the 2 in this game, the 3rd and 16 play. I mean, that was a really dumb throw, the 3rd and 16 play. But like I felt that from Kenny. And it is part of the things that makes me like Kenny. Which is that Kenny, pardon my language here, but like Kenny gives a shit, right? Kenny's not willing to just, we're in 3rd and 16, and so guess what? It's check down time, so we can kick under the friggin' field goal, right? No, and Kenny in that moment said, I'm letting this thing rip, and we're converting on 3rd and 16. And because remember, that's the moment when they had 3rd and 1, they converted it, then they had to go to 3rd and 6 because of the illegal motion. Kenny got, I think, 5.5, maybe even the full 6 on that one. It would have been either 4th and inches or a first down. It was close, but they get called for holding on that play, and so now they're backed up in 3rd and 16. You've essentially done 3rd down 3 times, and both times you've either converted or come damn close to the point where you could have given yourself a chance on 4th down. And so, was that a frustration throw from Kenny? Yes. Does he need to chill in that moment? Sure. But I love it. I mean, it's the kind of thing where I wish that would happen more on first. Like, let him go, man. Let him go. I said this about Mitch. I would rather Mitch go out there and throw 5 interceptions in a game than watch him friggin' check down for 20 times a game so the Steelers end up with 10 points at the end of the game. And we're talking about if our defense had caught any of these interceptions, we could have won. Like, that stuff drives me up a friggin' wall. Can we at least try to be competent on offense before we sit there and say that a defense that gave up 16 points in a game where, it looked like to start, we were getting blown out. Can we at least try offensively to put up anything close to 30? I mean, 30 points with this offense is a laugh. I mean, that is 20 points at this point is a massive success for this offense, right? I mean, go raise a banner at Acrisure. Like, remember that time we scored 20? Ben lacked athletic ability, but he was still clutch. Indeed, Mitch is bad. Mitch is bad, except, when was Mitch not bad? Mitch was not bad in one specific moment this year. And that is when Mitch came in place of Kenny and just said, screw it. I'm going to let it rip. Like, I'm throwing all the passes I didn't throw before. Everything you wanted to see out of Mitch Trubisky in those first couple games, he did it in the second half of that Bucs game. But I think from a mental perspective, he just said, screw it. I'm not playing safe anymore because there's no point. What's the point of playing safe? He lost his job already. So, yeah, I mean, Mitch was bad, but there was that one moment when, he just decided, screw it, let's go. And Kenny's struggling, but he's growing. Canada is the common denominator, basically. Canada is the common denominator. But then I go back to okay, if Canada's the common denominator, that's fine. But didn't we go through this whole, the OC is the problem thing 2 years ago when it was the same kind of thing, just completely inefficient offense? Are we sure it's Canada? Esna says, where did it go wrong with Canada? Oh, where did it go wrong with Canada and Tony? When did I fall? Well, I mean, again, it's the same thing with Mitch, right? People got on me like, oh, Tony, I thought you were the Mitch guy. Yeah, I mean, I want Mitch to be good, but when Mitch isn't good, I'm going to call it out, right? Same thing with James Pierre, right? I mean, you do the James Pierre hype train all you want. When James Pierre starts giving up, second half or 2-minute drill bombs to Jamar Chase and, for no reason to lose that game against Cincinnati last year, it's like, yeah, the whole James Pierre hype train was a lot more fun when he was actually playing well. So, where did it go wrong with Canada? Well, all the stuff that I thought Canada was going to do as far as bringing more deception and and motion and just keeping defenses off balance, right? And being very multiple. This offense is like very static. It's very, very static. You know, when they run motion, it's likely going to be either a run or play action. And I think defenses know that. Yeah, I don't, the whole Canada, like what I watched on tape with Canada in college was a guy who had a very good knack of understanding what defenses were doing and how they were attacking and how to take advantage of that through shifts, through motion, through keeping them off balance. And what I've watched at the NFL level is like, he just has no faith in that whatsoever. And so the motion stuff is like almost an afterthought of his own offense. And instead it's just, you know, just highly conservative, like high school stuff. We're going to, you know, it's the same old, like, again, you know, this whole mesh on 3rd and short thing. I mean, that's not a Canada thing. That was a Fichtner thing. Fichtner ran mesh on 3rd down all the time. And Canada was like, yeah, cool, let's do the same thing. So they just, you know, every 3rd down, it's like, guess what? If it's 3rd and 3, guess what? You're going to see 2 players do this. Whee! Let's see. Yeah, the CUDA here says all Canada did was take the playbook from years ago and change the page numbers. That's funny. But I mean, like, at the end of the day, doesn't it feel like that, you know, this is, at the end of the day, this is more of like a, you know, Tomlin wants this team to play a certain way, which is to say they're going to be a defense-minded team that needs an offense that won't screw it up for them. And so that's where you get a lot of the, you know, more conservative nature of this offense. Throws deep down the sideline are safe but aggressive, because at the end of the day, you're probably in a one-on-one. If you overthrow it, then it goes out of bounds, no harm, no foul. If you underthrow it, you potentially can get yourself into a back shoulder situation where a defender can't make a play on the ball. But if you throw deep over the middle of the field, if you underthrow that, you can throw it right to a safety. If you overthrow it, it's to a safety. If you underthrow it, you can throw it right to a linebacker, right? And at the end of the day, when you're throwing in the middle of the field, you are likely going to be splitting coverage. When you're throwing over it, you're going to have to split between a linebacker and a safety. Whereas down the sidelines, it is essentially going to be one-on-one. That is why this team does that, right? So why the middle of the field doesn't get used? Because middle of the field, danger. So, you know, from my perspective, I think it's Mike Tomlin himself who has to have the come to Jesus moment and say, look, we live in a league now where it is offense driven. And as much as I want this to be a defense driven team, like offensively, you still got to be able to, at the end of the day, you still got to be able to compete with Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and you know, all these top guys in the league. Because at the end of the day, the idea that you're going to be winning games 17-16 in late January, I don't think so. All right, offseason plan number 1, fire Matt Canada. And I think it would be a firing, by the way, because I think his contract still has 1 more year left. So I think that would be a firing. Sign an elite corner in free agency. That's going to be very costly. I don't know that the cost to play ratio is there to signing an elite corner in free agency. I don't hate the idea because obviously this team does need another corner. Although, James Pierre, you want an elite corner? Have you seen James Pierre the last 2 weeks? 3, sign a tackle, maybe draft a tackle. 4, replace Bush in the draft. Too high a draft pick for that. We're not going top 10 linebacker again. 5, use the rest of the draft for defensive depth. This is assuming Kenny develops. Okay, 1, fire Canada. I mean, that's like an absolute guarantee. They're going to have to fire Canada. I thought that he might get 1 extra year. But, man, the way that this is headed, this is just, you know. I was kind of shocked that Kenny didn't have a better game. I thought this was a team that Kenny and this offense could take advantage of because they like to blitz so much. They like to run so much press. This felt like a game where, man, you know, you're going to let Deontay and Pickens cook, right? And Kenny's just going to be diagnosing that stuff, and it's going to be bang, bang, bang. And instead it was like, check down. 1-1 blue. Kenny Pickett's 3 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in his first 3 games. The first time that's happened since Ryan Leaf. Yeah, but his 7 interceptions are what? A Hail Mary, a Claypool one that, like, you know, hit his receiver right in the hands. Right? The 7 interception thing, like, it's bad, but it doesn't tell the whole story. I don't think that Kenny Pickett is a poor decision maker out there, right? And that he is just like completely misreading situations and throwing really dumb interceptions. The 2 times that's happened this year is in Buffalo and in that Jets game, where he kind of misread the situation and had dumb interceptions. The one to was Freiermuth on the sideline. I mean, that also hit him in the hands. It's a bad bounce, but regardless, that was a dumb throw. The Buffalo one was a dumb throw. The other ones, actually, the Miami one, the first one, that was a dumb throw. The second one, I don't hate that. It's a miscommunication between the two of them. That's okay. Once again, and I hate to be like all I do is criticize Tomlin, because again, Tomlin, great coach, love him. Not firing Mike Tomlin for this season, not even close. But that's a play where you have 2 guys who need to work on rapport in a kind of post snap. On like a post-snap basis, right? Working on kind of out of structure stuff. Okay, well, if Kenny Pickett had, let's say, any friggin' first-team reps during training camp, maybe those two would be on better wavelengths in those moments. But remember, this is a situation where Mike Tomlin set up a training camp and a preseason in which Mitch Trubisky was the incumbent and there was no second option. And then 3 games in, he goes, actually, put the kid in. Right? I mean, I think that goes back to like just poor planning from the start on Tomlin's part. If you're going to go with Trubisky the whole time, like, okay, go with Trubisky the whole time. But if there was doubt in your mind, or like, hey, if this thing goes poorly with Mitch, I'm going right to Kenny. Like, well, then you got to. That's what a true quarterback competition would have brought out in you. Let's see. I don't know if Josh McDaniel gets fired and we hire him in 2023 and he's bad, then it's probably Tomlin. Oh, if we get, let's say we get an outside mind like McDaniel and he's bad, then it's probably Tomlin. Well, I think it would be if they bring an outside hire in and it doesn't change stylistically, then I would be disappointed. That would be the most disappointing aspect of this. Right? I mean, to me, the thing that needs to change in 23 is that this offense just has to stylistically want to push the ball down the field. You look at Kenny Pickett's drive chart right now, or his kind of scatter shot or whatever. I mean, it is all within 10 yards. What was his average depth of target in this game? Let's look that up. Let's look it up together. I'll just put it up and put up the I'll add this back. And we'll look up. Whoops. We'll look up the average depth of target for Kenny Pickett in this game. And it's going to be, it's actually going to be inflated because he made some deep throws later on in the game. But yeah, so his average depth of target was 7.1, which actually isn't that bad. But a lot of that's going to be based on those last 2 drives. So let's look at the scatter plot. Let's actually go to that. Let's go to the. Because it is amazing. And it was a very similar thing last year, right? When it was the last couple minutes of the game, all of a sudden, offensively, it's like, all of a sudden, it's a miracle. They know how to play offense. They just forget how to do it for 58 minutes a game. And I, by the way, and I don't want to actually, before we do this, I don't want to just criticize everything that happened offensively, because I do think they tried something interesting in this game. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but they tried to run pace on third down a ton. They tried to run this hurry up third down thing a lot in this game, which I thought, was an interesting little, just an interesting little thing to try. Let's try to run a little more pace. This team has been better in pace situations, right? Let's keep the defense off balance a little bit. Didn't work, but I don't hate it. I hope that the fact that it didn't work doesn't stop them from going to it in the future, because I think things like that, again, it's one of the things about this offense that I think they need to do more, which is they need to be dictating. They need to be keeping defenses more off balance. And even though that they did this little experiment and it didn't work out in this one, they weren't, those situations didn't turn out well. Like, I think it was an interesting idea that they should be utilizing more often. So, all right, let me pull up Kenny's passing chart. That's San Francisco. The Pittsburgh Steelers. There we are. Oh, I got the wrong one. Oh, here we go. It's making for a great podcast, by the way. I appreciate everybody watching through this because boy, oh boy, technology, not my strong suit. There it is. That's Kenny's. Yeah, I mean, it's all here. It's all within it's all within 10 yards. Kenny Pickett's passing chart is basically just, and see, and I would love to take out the last 2 minutes of the game from this, right? When it's like game on the line and we gotta go. Okay, fine, right? There's the Frymouth pass right there. There's the interception over there, right? I mean, obviously those were more aggressive plays, but you do the whole the whole win probability thing to get rid of all the BS plays. I want like on normal downs in this game, what was the passing chart, which we can't get from this thing, but regardless. Like that to me is the bigger issue. Obviously, at the end of the game, they were more aggressive. Loved that from Kenny. And those are the parts of the game where I think Kenny is like, it's a stupid thing to say, right? But like the moxie of Kenny Pickett. Right? I love the moxie of this kid. But I do. Like, I like the fact that, those kind of got to have it moments when it's, it's 4th and 10 and I got to convert here. I'm not losing. Like he has this will to win, right? Or really it's like a desire to not, like he just hates losing, right? Kenny clearly has a hatred of losing that drives him to these things. And it's what led him to that pass on 3rd and 16. Stupid pass. Can't do that, right? It's what led him to the interception to Deontay in the corner was the miscommunication, right? We threw it to the defender. Deontay never came back to it when he could have just run for the first down, but he didn't want the first down. He wanted to win. And again, if Deontay, if he puts that where Deontay thinks Deontay's going, he thinks he just threw the freaking game winner right there, right? That's the kind of attitude that I want out of my quarterback. I want the guy who's out there saying, we're winning this game by any means necessary. I just wish that could happen in quarters 1 through 3.5, and it didn't take until the very end where it's like, okay, and now we have to do this because there is no alternative. Mr. Hammer says he doesn't adjust. He's like a square peg, round hole guy. Matt Canada's just awful. I mean, there's nothing to adjust about his offense, right? Because it's if you watch the all 22 stuff, I mean, you should chart like route concepts. Just okay. Here's one thing. Here's a fun thing to do. Now, actually, it wouldn't be fun, but a thing you could do. Turn on the all 22 and just write down route concepts. Right? What did each side of the field do? Just write them down. Okay. So we had like slant flat on that one. Okay. And then just come back to it. We did slant flat again. Okay. And you'll just see like it's again. There's maybe like I don't know. I think what is it? Orlovsky said. He said you couldn't convince me the Steelers run more than like 6 plays. I mean, obviously that's it's a little excessive, but it's on the right track. Mr. Hammer says, I hope they can land Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. I mean, the Will Anderson thing would just be so hilarious because it would allow Tomlin to double down on this idea that, like, we're just going to build the greatest defense of all time and we just need an offense to just, come on in, boys. Like, we're going to ride this defense to the Super Bowl. I think a Will Anderson, TJ Watt combo would be unbelievable. And it is the kind of thing where you start thinking about how do you beat or how do you stop Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes? And there's like the normal way, which is to say, it's the old arms race, right? You have great quarterback, great weapons, so I need to get just as good quarterback and even better weapons, right? Like, and that's the kind of arms race, the Brady Mahomes or Brady Manning thing. Then you got to zag. Then you go, we're just going to be zagging there. Oh, what if we just built unbelievable defense with a great pass rush that we can get there with 4? And it's just, you pick your poison on either side. I would love that. That would be a lot of fun. I wish they would build an offense to go with it, but we can't always get everything we want, right? I think no matter who the quarterback is, the offense will be cheeks. Canada is the problem. Let's go back. Let me just to illustrate the point here of no matter who the quarterback is, the offense will be cheeks. Let me just put this tweet back up again to remind everyone that player A is Kenny Pickett through his first 3 games as a Steelers starter. Player B is Mitch Trubisky in the 4 games he's played this year. And player C is Ben Roethlisberger in the first 4 games he played in Matt Canada's offense. And by the way, those are unbelievably remarkable, or unbelievably similar, I should say. So yeah. You put a quarterback in there, it's like Matt Canada's got like a factory. It's just whatever quarterback you give me, I will give you very average play. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Great job. Let's see. Kenny showed more composure, sees the field better, fewer checkdowns. In those key moments of the game, it's fewer checkdowns. I'll agree with you on that. I think he has shown more composure, and I do think he sees the field better. I agree with you on your first 2 points. The third one. Kenny and Mitch have the same floor. Kenny has a higher ceiling. Agreed. Although I think Mitch didn't get a fair shake in this offense, because I think Mitch would be much better in an offense that's designed like what Mariota is running in Atlanta, where a lot of it's like run, RPO, play action based. It's all kind of iterations on the same thing. What Arthur Smith is doing with Mariota is pretty cool out there. Because again, who would have thought that the Atlanta Falcons could be a dangerous offense with Marcus Mariota at the helm, and and all the running backs that they got running through there. But Kenny has played better than Mitch in an offense that moves the ball better, but Mitch was definitely safer with the ball, help time possession. Okay, are they better? I got to run because I got another podcast to do here in 5 minutes. But have they been better offensively, like from an efficiency standpoint, with and without Kenny? Are we sure on that? Okay, so weeks 1 through 4 was one. When did Kenny come in? See, it's hard to do this because I have to. All right, I won't do this live on air. I don't know that that's true. Let's see. All right, yeah, actually, I got to run, so we're going to call this. I appreciate everybody watching. We got 44 people watching today. That's pretty cool. So thank you all. Thank you all for watching today. I'll be back on Thursday to do a preview show. Steelers-Eagles, the Battle of Pennsylvania. I don't know about you guys. I'll say that I'll leave you this. I'll leave you on a positive note. Don't you all have that weird feeling that we're going to win this game? Like, Steelers are going to win. Steelers are going to beat the Eagles. They'll be the first team to beat the Eagles. I just have this weird, like, the Steeler team. I imagine we're going to end up winning like 3 or 4 games this year as Steeler fans, right? We're going to end up watching 3 or 4 wins. But man, I feel like the Eagles might be one of those games. Just like the classic Tomlin game on the road against Philly. No business winning this football game. Philly is good. And they're well-rounded. But I don't know. I feel like this could be a win. So we'll talk about that on Thursday's show. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back then.